Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast will contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews of newly released films, please check out our channel Reviews Without Remorse on YouTube and VidMe. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Reviews Without Remorse. And I have nothing to add. My name is David. Screw Lex Luthor. I'm an evil genius here. And the man who is always in bed by 10:30, Joe.
As always.
This is episode 90, and in this show we will discuss another cinematic master has passed away. Reviews Without Remorse says goodbye to the late Raymond Chow and explain why you should care. The Birds of Prey movie has cast their villain. Ewan McGreggor will take on the role of Roman Sionis, aka the Black Mask. I, for one, am pleased. Once Upon a Deadpool is the title of the PG-13 version of Deadpool 2. It gets a release date and a limited theatrical run. We discuss. And then we cap off the Christopher Reeve series with our review of Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. More like Superman 4: The Mangled Mess. How are you doing, my man? How is Alabama treating you?
Oh, it's treating me fine. And yeah, that's a little foreshadowing. The mangled mess, isn't it?
Born October 8th, 1927 in Hong Kong, Raymond Chow grew up loving movies. He became a producer very, very early in his life. He started immediately producing a bunch of kung fu movies, but his biggest thing that he ever did was convincing a then unemployed Bruce Lee to come to Hong Kong and film kung fu movies with him, which brought us The Big Boss. And you could arguably say The Big Boss is the kung fu movie that forever changed kung fu movies. That is the template movie that brought about the Chinese Collection, The Way of the Dragon, and of course, Bruce Lee's classic, Enter the Dragon. I mean, he was him. He discovered him. And when Bruce Lee passed on, he brought in one of the stuntmen from some of the movies, a little guy named Jackie Chan, and turned him into a frickin' star. This is Raymond Chow. And this man passed away on November the 2nd, 2018, at the age of 91. And I almost wish I knew Quentin Tarantino, because I imagine that this entire podcast would be filled up with an amazing history of this man. Because, when you watch Kill Bill, it is so evident that much of the influence of Raymond Chow and the movies that he brought us is in that movie.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Very rich career, and those are two pretty spectacular finds. So he his legacy lives on, but he will be missed.
Yep, he kept producing right up to the end. He as late as 2001, he was still producing movies. He also was a producer on Rumble in the Bronx. Of course, we knew that. He was a producer on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. I believe that he helped get the choreographing going for some of that. All the Police Story movies, and honestly, he was part of a team that was going to do the upcoming remake of the Cannonball Run. Did you hear that they were doing a remake of Cannonball Run?
No, but now that you said it, thanks for ruining my night.
I apologize. It's being directed by Doug Liman.
Okay, all right. Well, okay. It's more about the cast.
Chance.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see the ensemble that they put together. It's possible.
Yep. Now, unfortunately, I am not as versed in the movies of kung fu movies as much as most people. I have an appreciation for them, so I really can't go over much. But when I knew his name though. When I saw that he had died, I was like, "Holy smokes! That's the guy that basically launched Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan's career." And I just knew that we had to do it. We had to go over it. I wish I could go into more detail. I wish I could say something nicer. The New York Times has a beautiful write-up about his entire career and his Golden Harvest Studios that gave us the classic kung fu movies of the 70s. And rest in peace, my man. Thank you so much for all that you gave us. Thank you.
Hit it. Good evening, all you gentlemen, mobsters, creeps, and crooks. Men in tights come after you, and still you're off the hook. For those who scare and terrorize, it's the dawn of a brand new day. You scum can simply call us the one and only birds of prey.
So, let me explain the story of Roman Sionis. Roman Sionis is kind of the opposite of Bruce Wayne. Whereas Bruce Wayne suffered a trauma because his parents were murdered, Roman Sionis murdered his parents to get his power. He is a fascinating Batman villain. One of my faves. Not maybe in this top 7 or anything like that, but there's something manic and wonderful about him that I've always appreciated. And we know that they're doing a Birds of Prey movie. We know that Margot Robbie is in it as Harley Quinn. That Mary Elizabeth Winstead is going to be Huntress. And an unknown actress, Journey Smollett Bell. Where the hell are these names coming from? Journey? Jurnee. Not to sound like an old man. Not to sound like get off my lawn or anything like that. But who the hell names their kid that?
Get off my lawn.
Joe, you're looking at me like, why should I give a flying flute?
Well, I know this is this is your expertise right here, so I'm gonna let you kind of run with this, and I'm just sort of marveling at the idea that they're doing Birds of Prey now, which is kind of like, okay, what worked in Suicide Squad? Well, they all liked Harley Quinn with Margot Robbie, so they'll just it's almost like they're just redoing that with her. I mean, I know they're doing another Suicide Squad with James Gunn, so but yeah, this to me sounds like a again, DC just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah, but this has a possibility of being decent. I okay, maybe I'm just.
Well, we don't know who's directing it yet, and we
Kathy Yan. Her name is Kathy Yan. That's directing it.
And do we know anything about her?
You know what? Let us find out everything that we can about Kathy Yan with the help of the wonderful world of the internet. Okay, let's see. Fishing, Last Night, Dinosaur Rider, Entropy, Of Tooth and Time, Humpty, Downriver, According to My Mother, Skyladder, The Art of Kai Gu Ging, Groomed, Dead Pigs. Have no flippin' idea.
Are these American movies, I'm wondering? I don't know a single one.
She is an Asian Chinese American screenwriter and director. I don't know. I have not seen any of her movies at all.
Okay. Well, I mean, I said, you never know with these movies. That you never know what they'll actually hit it with. But not even a property that I know too well. So we'll see.
Birds of Prey used to be pretty good. The only problem is it's missing one thing. The main component of Birds of Prey was the paralyzed Barbara Gordon as Oracle, who was, she was kind of like she was the quote unquote original guy in the chair, so to speak. Keeping, sending them updates and things like that. But she doesn't appear to be in this movie because they're doing a separate Batgirl movie, which is also being written by the same person who's writing this movie, a Christina Hodson, who has done Shut In, Unforgettable, and Bumblebee.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm finding that when I heard that they were shelving Superman and going to try Supergirl, I said to myself, I said, "Wow, it's getting kind of eerie, just how much they're following in the footsteps of the original Salkind films." You had Man of Steel was basically Superman the movie. Batman v Superman was Superman 2. The Justice League is essentially Superman 3. Now they're scrapping the idea, or they can't get their star back, and now they're going to switch gears and try Supergirl.
I don't even know what to say about that, man.
Which might mean that they might drag Cavill back at some point to do a Superman 4 Quest for Peace level.
Oh, that would be terrible. That would be terrible. Oh, stop it. Dude, maybe it is. Maybe I'm at the point in my life where I'm so tired of just bashing on DC. Yes, fine. They make it easy. But I feel like I've gone from critical to bullying with DC, and I'm trying to grab onto whatever little bits of hope I can find.
Yeah.
I don't want to bully them anymore. All right, I want a happy world. I want a good Batman. Why can't we have a good Batman?
Well, hey, listen, you might want, you know how you always say, like, let me wait until after the holidays to start my diet? You're going to have to wait until at least after this podcast to start that resolution about not bullying DC.
A Kung Fu Fiesta! Arriba-san!
Double wedgie achievement unlocked.
Dang, Skippy! Where are my manners? Introductions! Call me Deadpool. It rhymes with no school. Too cool, ain't no fool, and I'm the best that there is at what I do. Cool. Moving on!
It has officially been announced that the PG-13 version of Deadpool, called Once Upon a Deadpool, will release on December the 12th and run for 12 days until December the 24th. It's shorter runtime by about 3 minutes. Additional scenes were shot with Fred Savage and Ryan Reynolds, and I'm really looking forward to it, actually.
I am too. I am very much kind of looking forward to it, just because I want to see the spin that they sort of throw on it. Part of me is a little disappointed that they're not doing this with the original Deadpool, and they kind of just decided to do it with Deadpool 2. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I didn't really find that. I mean, the first Deadpool was the one with the pegging. I mean, that was the one that you kind of thought, like, if anything needed to be toned down a little bit to share with younger audiences, I think it was much more the first one. I didn't find this one to be very twisted. I didn't find this one to be that adult in its humor, frankly.
Yeah, it got the R mostly for the violence, the use of the F word liberally. Mm. For God's sakes, there's a whole freaking operatic chorus singing MFer over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's true, but again, it's not that's not the stuff that I'm kind of nervous that my nieces or nephews are going to come across.
No, but at least now you can bring your nieces and nephews to see it.
It's the Ryan Reynolds bent over going, ah.
Well,
that's the one I don't feel like explaining.
No, wrong. Ryan Reynolds actually gave a statement. He said that Fox has been asking for a PG-13 basically since the start in 2006. I've said no since 2006. Now, this one time I said yes on 2 conditions. First, a portion of the proceeds had to go to charity. Second, I wanted to kidnap Fred Savage. The second condition took some explaining.
Yeah, and good for Ryan Reynolds. I mean, again, I for a guy who I never really liked, years ago, boy have I become a fan since. I've always felt like he was the knockoff Jason Lee, or maybe Jason Lee was the knockoff Ryan Reynolds. But really, I mean, honestly, God, I mean, the guy really has. I've become a believer for sure.
He's definitely a stand-up guy, and he basically, for everything that we've seen so far, he's one of the rare ones that really seems like he practiced what he preaches.
Agreed.
That, the last thing to note about this is that it is every ticket sold will donate $1 to the Fuck Cancer charity, which will be renamed Fudge Cancer just for this limited release.
There you go.
So I don't know if we should necessarily add it to the calendar, but damn it, I am going to see this. I'm going to take my son to see this.
I agree. I frankly, like I said, I'm curious to take my nieces and nephews to go see it. I feel like my sister can't complain now.
Has she been complaining?
Well, put it this way: she would never let me take her to see it. She's got a pretty, her stand on R-rated movies is pretty firm. I think I've snuck one or two in there for my nephew that that I've seen before and I knew weren't really bad. But I would not have taken him to see Deadpool, so I would have respected the R rule in the house. But so again, I think this being what it is, I think she'd probably be fine with it.
The greatest hope against the threat of nuclear war is Superman.
I'm going to do what our governments have been unwilling or unable to do. Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons.
The greatest threat to Superman is Lex Luthor.
Smarter than I thought. We can make the world safe for war profits.
He's created
The Man of Steel crusades for nuclear disarmament and meets Lex Luthor's latest creation, Nuclear Man. Written by Lawrence Connor and Mark Rosenthal. Story by Christopher Reeve, Lawrence Connor, and Mark Rosenthal. Based on characters created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Directed by Sidney J. Furay. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
It's vitally here.
So the first thing you need to know about this movie is that the Sulkines were not involved. And as the movie was playing out, I never imagined I'd be missing the Sulkines. And the other thing that I found out is this movie originally had like an almost $40 million budget, and literally got its budget slashed in half just as it was going into pre-production, which frankly explains a lot. And lastly, the movie originally clocked in at like an hour and 59 minutes, and they cut it down to an hour 30 to try to, pad the box office. And all of that is so damn evident with the results.
Well, here's a question: Do you think they slashed that to pad the box office, or was it just not salvageable at that point? I mean, when you look at the product of this film, you see how hodgepodgey, cut up and put back together it is. I have to wonder, and I've seen. I'm pretty sure I've seen all of the deleted scenes, or the ones that are available. Mm-hmm. Again, the budget that was spent on what's left, the stuff that they took out was even worse. I think so. I just think they just trimmed out the stuff that just they couldn't even salvage.
You know what? This is a story that we're probably never going to really know the truth about. Just like everything else, but I kind of feel, there were moments, Joe. There were several moments. There were several really neat Superman moments. Okay? I liked that opening on the satellite. I liked the opening of the movie. I thought that was a nice, here's, guy, falls off the thing, Superman comes up, brings him back, rescues him, speaks to him in Russian and respectable and kind and just also Boy Scout and everything like that. And I was like, oh, that's a great Superman moment. I really like that. And there was a couple of moments like that. I kind of felt, as silly as the stupid runaway train thing was, after he stopped the train and he went to check on him and it's like, he's all right, he needs help and so on, all that stuff. I loved every single one of those Superman moments. I loved a couple of the Lex Luthor moments. I could have drop-kicked his frickin' nephew through a goddamn window and would have very much enjoyed it. No offense, John Cryer. I kind of like you, John Cryer. You were pointless. You were a very bad Miss Tessmacher. and I even kind of sort of liked what the idea of the plot was. But then, you know, this is the moment. I was okay with the movie right up to this moment. Here it is. You know, they had the Russian satellite, you had the subway, okay, that was a little over the top, blah, blah, whatever. But this was it. The Daily Planet has just been bought out by Charles Foster Kane. Who the hell knows what that caricature of the character was supposed to be? And puts his daughter in charge of it. She asks Clark to come see him, and she jumps on top of her desk and kind of splays herself across from it. And that was the moment for me that the movie lost me. That was it. I was like, no, this is not going to go anywhere good. And after watching it again for the first time since, I want to say the 80s, I realized that all that fluff stuff, all that stuff with Mariel Hemingway's character, like, just meant nothing, did nothing, went nowhere, was such an incredible waste of time, and added nothing to the plot. The only thing that thing was there for was so that we could have the triumphant return of Jackie Cooper at the end saying, "I bought the paper! Take that, man!" And I couldn't care.
I have to say, that has to be one of the strongest defenses and most profound reviews of this film that I think I've ever heard. The idea that you were kind of with it up until Mariel Hemingway's scene. That's what bugged you? That's where it lost you?
Up to that point, it wasn't so terrible. It hadn't done anything terrible. Okay, yeah, the silly scene with the car and everything like that, and flying off when he's rescuing, when he's pulling Lex out of jail, car rolls over, explodes, and the two cops kind of crawl their way back up. All right, fine. That was kind of silly, but you know what? That's a credit to Gene Hackman as an actor, that he really, even when he knows it's shit, he still brings his A game, and he's still charming and personable, and I think he transcended a lot of the badness of that. But it's when we got to Mariel Hemingway, and she was just, I don't even know if I want to call it vamping or vaping or whatever the hell she was doing. It's just right at that point. That was the stop point, because because when I was watching it, I was like, okay, this opening isn't so bad. Maybe I misremembered this movie. It's like, okay, the train scene was a little, the fact that there's no dead man switch, pun not intended, on a train, it doesn't make any sense. The whole, Daily Planet being bought out, it's like, okay, that's, I guess I could see that. That's, kind of what's been happening a lot lately, and so on and so forth. They hadn't even gotten to the point where the kid wrote the letter to Superman by this point in the movie. The whole impetus for the story that Christopher Reeve wanted to tell. Okay? So at this point, I wasn't really having much of a problem with the movie. I was like, okay, it's not Superman 3 bad, but it's okay. It's off to an okay start. And if they keep this, then maybe, that's right, Lacey. I completely forgot about Lacey. And the funny workout scenes, and double date scene with him awkwardly flying away and coming back as Clark and coming back as. Why would he ever have agreed to that?
Agreed to it? I think he wrote it. I think it's his idea. Listen, it's funny. When you're talking about those scenes, there's a part of me that is ready to sort of wave my arm and say, well, the whole thing is like it was written by, like this is sort of 12-year-old fan fiction. But honestly,
by the way, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I hate to do this, but I just want you to know my son takes offense to you dismissing fanfic. He writes fanfic, and he's good at it, and he feels like you're insulting him personally when you refer to it that way.
Well, okay, fair enough. And I apologize to the quality fan fiction that exists, and I've seen my share. That is true. But to dismiss this, again, I feel like it feels like it was written by a 12-year-old. No offense to 12-year-olds, but that's really not exactly fair, because I do think, like you said, the story is actually not bad.
Right.
The story is, and this includes the part where the paper has been bought out. Clark's pseudo-romance with Mariel Hemingway's character, all of that stuff, quite frankly, I think it actually kind of works. Nothing about the structure of the movie really bothers me. It's just that the screenplay, it feels like it was written by a hack, by a non-writer. It feels like it was written by a non... The story is written... The screenplay is just written poorly. I mean, all of this silly nonsense that happens. I mean, the plot could have been much tighter. Even, quite frankly, the creation of Nuclear Man could possibly have been handled in a way that would have made it a little more, believable. But again, the spirit, and this is what's frustrating with this film, is that the spirit of it, I totally go with. The idea that Christopher Reeve wanted to come back and write this story. I mean, and frankly, the whole concept of, now again, this is, I'm completely dismissing the political part of it, because I mean, when you look at the things that are in it, it's obviously it's motivated by somebody who believes something politically, which you may or may not agree with. But that aside, the whole concept of Superman, it's kind of one of those things you've sort of tinkered with. If Superman was real, would he get involved in real life geopolitics? Would he get involved in, say, nuclear war? No. Am I going to make the choice to get involved in this and make us, and get that? To me is good stuff, frankly. And I remember when I was younger, kind of really looking forward to this movie, thinking that this is really going to get us back on track, as Superman 3 was a disappointment, and I thought this was going to be, and I thought the whole question it posed was very worth pursuing. So yeah, that's that part of it. Boy, again, I'm on board with that for sure, and like I said, I'm generally on board with the story. Bringing back Lex Luthor, allowing Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen to be bigger parts again of the story. Right. And again, even the little side stories. I think the idea that they could be bought out. I think that's something that's very true to today. Frankly, a big merger or a hostile takeover. The temptation to be sensational. Which again, I frankly think the New York Post used to be the last newspaper I would pick up, and now I can't even look at it anymore. It's gotten so bad. So yeah, I mean, these are legitimate questions to pose, but again, oh boy, if they just had the wherewithal to get a quality screenwriter to go over this and work and iron out the big wrinkles, and give us a more. The Lex Luthor stuff. You said that Gene Hackman's back. He's still got the charm. Well, he's got the charm, but he sure doesn't have the lines. He doesn't. He has nothing to work with in this.
No, I know.
the stuff he spits out is painful. You know, it's that heartbreaking. You got Gene Hackman. He's here to work, but you're not giving him anything to work with. There is not a single line from this film that he utters that you can look back on and say that's a good line. You know, it's all mediocre at best, and that's kind of the best I can say about this film. Because then you really just sort of go over the cliff with the execution of it, and again it's you watch this film like I'm gonna give you the weirdest analogy I've got, because it's funny, because as we've been doing this series I've kind of been bouncing around. Like I kept calling the first one, you know, this is the War and Peace of superhero films. And right. You know, and I kind of started with that, and then as we sort of went on, I was like, well, then what is Superman 2? And I'd be like, well, that's a comic book, but it's a good comic book. You know, that's I'll even say maybe it's even a graphic novel. You know, then I was like, well, what's Superman 3? Superman 3 is kind of like a Bazooka Joe comic that got stuck in the pages of National Lampoon. And then I got around to Superman 4. And I watched this movie, and again, when I was watching it, preparing for this, I mean, I'm watching it going like, wow, even as terrible as I knew it was, I don't even think I really understood how bad this is. And if I'm going to stick with my analogies, this is like if you really wanted a Sony Walkman, but you couldn't afford one. So you went down to that cheapy electronic shop that always has these brands that nobody's ever heard of, and they break within the first 2 weeks. And you go and you spit out your money and you buy it, and you get it home, and you take out the instruction manual, and it's not even in the right language. That's what Superman 4 is, okay? It's that. Because when you watch this again, there's something just so wrong with it. When you watch it, you're like, what is wrong with this movie? Like, even the goofiness aside, there's something that just isn't right. You know, like, I'm like, it doesn't even feel like a real movie.
Honestly, as I was watching this, the thing I was thinking of, I love your analogy, by the way, but for me, the way I see it is this reminds me of, you just got one of those huge, beautiful 1,000-piece puzzles. And like most people, okay, let's start by working on the edges. And you're very careful, and you're working the edges, and you find all the flat parts, and you're interlocking them, and you finally make that giant rectangle. And it's right. Like, okay, I have my base. Now let's get to work. And then this movie took the rest of the box, turned it upside down in the center of the thing, splayed their arms to scatter the puzzle pieces in 100 directions, stomped on the pieces, and then said, done!
Yeah. I'm with you there.
Because there was something here. You're right. We're both seeing it. There was something here. There was something here that could have been good that... You know, was it bad screenwriting? Was it budget cuts? Was it re-editing it down to an hour and 30 minutes? It could be a combination of all those things. I'll give you a prime example. They introduced early in the movie the thing that powered his escape pod from Krypton.
Yeah.
Okay, so they introduced that at the beginning. You know, there's the MacGuffin, there's the gun, there's Chekhov's gun at the beginning of the movie. It's like, okay, so we've got Chekhov's gun. It's going to have to go off at some point. And after he gets into his, you know, nuclear accident with Nuclear Man, we don't even know why, you know, he scratched and he's dying of what, radiation? Was it radiation he was dying of? The sun's radiation is what gives him his strength. So it's not really clear exactly why Superman is suddenly dying.
Right, yeah.
I mean, he goes from sitting in his room, wrapped in a blanket, you know, trying to pretend to Lois, you know, oh, you know, I just have the flu and stuff like that. The next time we see him, his hair is shockingly white, and he's pulling the green thing out from somewhere. I don't know where. The shot was so muddy you couldn't even tell. And then the next thing you know, he's in front of the Daily Planet.
You're absolutely right, and it's funny too because I did catch that, and when I watched it this time around, he goes to the trouble, and again he goes to Smallville, and he goes to the supposedly what was his old farm, and it actually does kind of look reasonably similar to what they had in the first movie. But yeah, they do this weird, awkward scene where he goes into the thing to the barn, opens up the thing where we saw that in the first movie, and again that green crystal is still there, like it never left, and for some reason he takes it out and puts it in his coat pocket, and
Right.
there's no real you don't know why he's doing that. Why does he suddenly need this, and why is he taking it with him? And again, hanging out of the pocket, like we know we're going to see it later. Yeah. Then he does like one of those weird. Again, the film does. I like that the film kind of stays consistent with how liberal the other films became with the superpowers. Now he's got make the spaceship disappear vision. I had no idea what that was.
Oh, no. That was supposed to be, originally it was supposed to be his X-ray vision melting it and destroying it so that when the property got sold, nobody would ever find it. That's what it was supposed to be. That's why you see him sit there and he kind of looks forward and he curls his eye. But they didn't have the budget to add the lasers to his frickin' eyes.
All right. I mean, I guess that makes some sense. He's getting rid of it because he's going to sell the property. Oh, all right. All right. You got me, movie. I'll give you that one. But then, like you said, the green crystal is in his pocket, his coat pocket. So I guess he took it home? Right, he was taking it home. Right, so then later on, after he's, like you said, he's totally decimated. And again, they cut out chunks of the movie where, it looked like his hair was falling out. There was chunks of his hair missing even at that point.
Yeah.
He was on death's door.
Radiation poisoning. That's what it looked like they were trying to get to.
Because they're trying to make a statement about nuclear or something.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
heavy-handed,
but then he waits till he's on death's door to realize, oh yeah, I got this crystal. Why don't I try that bit again from Superman 2 and get my powers back and just be back to normal?
And where I finally figured it out. I watched the scene twice, and where that is, and you can't. There's no way you can tell unless you look really close, because it also flies by in the blink of an eye. Basically, you know how the mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent now has a apartment that has that little open air roof thing.
Yeah, apparently everybody who lives in New York has a
yeah. Well, Metropolis. But yes. It appears that is his little deck area. He had put it in the concrete underneath there. That's where he had hidden it. That's what that was supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
And you didn't even know that because
I literally, honestly, I was watching it and I was staring at the background, trying to figure out where he is. And I thought they were sort of going for the idea that he was back in the barn or something or whatever. But you're right. I'm he's in a room, you can see the background of the interior of a room. So right. I knew something was up, but I couldn't figure out what it was.
Oh God, it's but I mean, this added to the frustration because I just kind of said to myself, they had something, and maybe another pass of the screenplay, a decent budget, and a little length of time could have saved it a little bit. Maybe, like I said, probably nothing will ever touch the War and Peace Superman, but it could have been on par with graphic novel Superman. If it had something better than this. The editing near the end is so chaotic and so terrible.
Yeah.
Okay? And leaves and it leaves so much. Okay, two things I want to point out. Number one, Lacey can breathe in space.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
There's number one. Number two, so Nuclear Man, just for shits and giggles, which is all I can come up with for the reason, decides today's the day he's going to read the paper, sees her picture, is now obsessed with her for some strange reason.
Yeah.
And decides, where's the girl? I'm going to go to the Daily Planet to get her. Oh, but Superman knows that he's after the girl for some reason. How the hell does he know that? Yeah. We're talking about that editing. So the big fight happens, and so on and so forth. He saves the girl, and we never see her again. Ever. We never see her again.
Oh, yeah, that's, oh boy. I'm right. Basic storytelling says bring, and again, they went to the trouble to redeem her, to give her an arc. I mean, it's sloppy and totally on the nose and just poorly done all across. But you went to the trouble. So bring her back at the end to at least say goodbye to Clark or something or other. You know, yeah, you're right. It was just ridiculous. And seriously, I mean, and everybody laughs at the whole, you know, she's breathing in space routine. Well, I remember the first time they hard cut to, it was like as soon as the two of them started grappling and they fall off, you know, the Empire State Building, and they're falling down in that weird, you know, like when they jolt in two different directions. I'm saying, like, boy, this is somebody's first day After Effects. But then all of a sudden,
After Effects didn't exist back then either.
Yeah. But then they fly off, and all of a sudden they cut to they're in outer space, and it was almost like they kept defaulting to just fighting in space. And I'm saying to myself, you could not get like a decent stock photo of like aerial footage so they can be at least fighting in the atmosphere? Like, why was that? I mean, this is what I'm talking about, how the movie is just, it shortcuts to just god-awful, where you're saying to yourself, like a high schooler could have made a better movie than this, literally.
I can explain exactly why they went from the city into space and then back, and why they kept changing in between. Because the visual effects are easier to do. Green screen visual effects back in those days, blue screen is what they were back in those days, are easier to do against a black background. So, because you notice that sometimes when they were fighting in the city, it just looked cheap and terribly handmade.
Right.
When you do it in space, it looks a little better. Not a lot better, but a little better.
So you're not seeing like the black halo and stuff.
Exactly. That's exactly why they did it.
But at least give them a moment. I mean, the editing in this movie is so bad, where it's like you couldn't plan some sort of. And again, even if like I understand the budget was slashed, like just slashed out from under them. Right. But it's so. But you know that you have to get the character from here to there. So couldn't you have done something to segue? And I mean, seriously, and this movie is notorious, by the way, for that, using that same shot over and over of him flying toward the camera.
Yeah, and over. They must have used it like 5 times in this movie. Easily.
That is something I can't understand. How is it that you didn't at least do a couple I mean, like, if you go to the trouble to set a camera up, and zoom in on him in front of a green screen, right? As if he's flying toward. Do it 3 or 4 times. When you literally use the same exact shot, like, why would you not shoot a couple general passes? Like, that makes 0 sense to me.
This movie was obviously rushed. This movie was obviously directed by Ed Wood. It's the only thing I could think of.
Oh my God, an Ed Wood movie is better than this. Seriously, I mean, it really is.
Wave your cape around. It'll look scary.
Make it look like he's killing you. Yeah, I mean, that stuff like that. That's where I really just sort of go, like, how? I mean, you've passed bad like 10 miles back. This is just abysmal. And again, it's bafflingly bad. Like, and I mean, I feel like I feel like I've almost overused that for different things. Here, I mean, you are really talking about like a production that's not even worthy of like a straight-to-video release.
In some respects, you're right. What's worse to me is that the start of the movie, which, as we have discussed many times, like when we discussed how in Superman 3, they opened up with that cheesy little slapstick, opening of Help, the movie type thing going on, and it set the tone for the movie. And it's like, and we kind of begrudgingly agreed, like, for better or for worse, they told us right from the beginning what the hell to expect.
Right.
In this movie, it opened up with some really good visual effects of the rescue on the satellite. I thought that was very
decent.
well done.
Well,
Look, for 1987, I'm going to give it to them. The fact that they built that practical, satellite and everything like that, you could tell it was that. I thought it was a damn fine opening. The problem is, it's like they blew the budget on that, and then it just went all the way the frick downhill. And they saved it for, I don't know, whatever that stupid lightning effect it was, that every time frickin' Nuclear Man powered on, like a Mac or something like that.
Right. Seriously, he just has to hit a shady spot. He has no saved energy whatsoever. Well, just shade is his enemy. It's like, come on, you turn the sun off. Okay, he can't recharge, but come on.
He would go down like Pac-Man would go down whenever he'd hit a ghost. And then when he'd power back on, it would be like when you power it on a Mac. It would be like, pew, bwah, bwah, and then it would be like, yo, look, a tiny reflection off of Lex's ring. Dun.
Right, yeah, seriously. A tiny little glimmer off the ring. You're like, hold back to normal. Oh my God, ridiculous.
Oh God, and the special effects with like the Great Wall. I mean,
yeah, I'm right. I mean, I seriously, I feel like for all the talking we're doing, we haven't even really talked about the special effects. Go ahead.
The Great Wall. First of all, they arrive on this Great Wall, and I'm like, wow, okay, they kind of built like a little mini set. That's neat. I like that. And and it's like they do this the explosions are looking and so on and so forth, and they just go all over the place. And the fight continues, and the set gets a little wrecked, and he rescues the people, everything like that. And it's like, this is not bad. And then he does this thing, like, yep. It seems originally it was supposed to be, they were supposed to film a shot where Superman was like, he uses his super speed to actually put everything back together, which would have been great. I would have liked to have seen that, but no. There's like, well, no, we can't afford to do that. No, we left the octopus motor back at the studio, so just move its arms a little bit.
Yeah, right. Just right. Another superpower, the rebuilding of the Great Wall of China vision.
Yep. Gollum and Globus, man, that was their thing. It's like, it's just one of his superpowers. Just reverse the scene where we blew it up. Boom, cheap, saved, go.
Oh my God, ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, again, it kind of goes without saying that the effects are just so ridiculous in this movie. But yeah, that's an. Do you know? By the way, do you know what they slashed the budget for?
No, I'm not aware of that. I just know what they did.
Yeah, Hammer Films, the Golden Globus guys, they were trying to like get out there as like heavy hitters or whatever, and they got the rights to, and they slashed the budget of Superman 4 in order to send the half of the budget in the other direction. It was for Masters of the Universe with Dolph Lundgren that got the other chunk of this budget. So we can blame that wonderful, yeah. And incidentally, the effects in that movie actually look a little bit better than this. They really thought that was the up and coming property, and Superman was on its way out. They went to the trouble to get it, to bring back Christopher Reeve, to dangle things in front of him to get him back, and the rest of the cast, by the way. And then decided they got cold feet and decided that Masters of the Universe was the way to go. So that's where the budget for this went.
Oh, it shows. Thank you so much. That's really wonderful, guys.
Yeah.
I just, it hurts too much. It really does, because I really kind of feel like that. I think with some time and a little bit of tweaking and a lot less of the silliness, I think they might have they could have had something here. I think if they had given this movie just a little bit more faith, it might have worked. I kind of liked the evolution of Lois and Clark's relationship. I will say this one thing, and this bothered me when I was watching it. Does anybody else think it's just a little creepy that Superman's doing this thing where he reveals himself just to clear his conscience and then kisses Lois to make her forget? Does anybody else feel that's a little creepy?
Yeah. Yes, and yeah, that was so weird. First of all, that whole scene is painful to watch. I mean, again.
No. The double date is much more worse. But please continue.
Well, I'll get back to that one. But yeah. You were serious. I will give it to Christopher Reeve. He did. He seemed like he watched the first 3 films again, or at least the first 2, as he was sort of penning this script and trying to remember, like, well, what have we seen? Like, in the Green Crystal and this, the Memory Kiss. But yeah, the idea that he's just going to grab Lois, reveal himself, and just kind of take her for a spin just to have a chat, and then kiss her, and then make her forget everything. Like, that's like Men in Black stuff, it's like, do you think she's getting like some kind of weird brain damage from that all the time? Like, having amnesia induced upon her at his whim. Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't quite feel right. Like, what else is he doing to her that he can just kiss and make her forget?
Exactly, man. This guy's like roofing frickin' Lois Lane whenever he needs to have his brain exercised.
Right. Seriously, the kiss of roofies.
It's like, stop it. No, that's so and after all the other stuff where I'm saying, oh, that's so Superman. Oh, God, that's not Superman. No.
This is like Superman Returns with bad. Yeah.
Oh, God, we still got to do that one. Stop.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I hate you for reminding me about that.
Oof. Good Lord. Yeah, that was a painful. And seriously, that whole scene was just so bad. Like a bad Xerox copy that has been like seriously, like going back to my weird analogies, this is like that wonderful, wonderful scene from the original that I said that I really genuinely like that scene a lot. Not just it's okay. No, I liked it. Here, oh my God, it's like a bad Xerox copy with where the ink is dried out, and you can't even read the copy. It was so bad, and again, the effects were awful. I mean, seriously, that's where if they were going to do the night stuff, then they should have shot that at night, like not just not in outer space, but like at nighttime. Then at least you could have covered up a lot of the whatever. But, oh, dear Lord, was this bad. I don't know what they were thinking with this.
The countdown has begun.
Can we risk not launching?
The world is on the brink.
Prepare to counterattack.
And only one man can save us now.
What a scoop!
Effective immediately.
Well, you know what, dude? I mean, Superman's your guy. Normally I would say you, but I want to get this out of the way and over with. Okay, I wish I could really see where they wanted to go with this originally, because I really do feel like they had a decent foundation that they just went nuts on in the wrong direction. I think that that frickin' Chippendales dancer of a villain with
literally.
With Lex Luthor's voice was really, really off-putting. Him just like, just kind of, I just, so much weird vamping, these terrible side characters that they introduced for no other reason. That with the guy in that gym with that smug little, gym guy and stuff like that. There was so much cringe happening in this movie. And, when I started watching the movie and I was starting to like, oh, this is not so bad. Maybe there's something here. Only to be like, oh, no, now I remember. Now I remember. This movie gets a 3. And I think I'm actually being generous with a 3. And it gets a 3 only because I felt there's a foundation here. Only because Christopher Reeve, when he's playing the part, God damn it, he's awesome at it. And Gene Hackman, when he's playing the part, God damn it, he's awesome at it. None of them had anything to do, but they were still awesome at it. That's it. You got 1 point for what looked like a decent foundation, 1 for each of the actors. That's it. That's all I'm giving it. And I think that's a little generous, if you ask me.
Yes, I will agree with you that is generous. I honestly think that this is probably, now again, good intentions aside, this has to be quite possibly the worst film that you and I have reviewed so far, I think. I mean, seriously, we've done Last Crusade, we've done Batman and Robin, I mean, we've done some pretty abysmal things, we've done The Last Jedi, we've done some shite, but you have to just kind of call a spade and say, look, when you watch this film, it just reeks of not being a real movie even. And seriously, I mean, I totally agree with you that this is one of those moments where if you could do your kind of, fantasy filmmaking, the same way people say, like, I wish we could have seen Honor Majesty's Secret Service with Sean Connery. I would, boy, if I could resurrect Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder and let him have at this film again with a substantial budget and making absolutely sure that some good screenwriters were in place and the effects were up to par, I would really have loved to see what could have been. But yeah, you look at this and you're like, what the heck is happening? So yeah, I have to just say that this is I think the worst film that we've ever reviewed so far. There is a part of me that wants to give this a 1. Just based on the idea that there's nothing in here. I mean, in no way, shape, or form could you recommend this to anybody. In no way, shape, or form. You could not even say, well, it's got this, well, it's got that. I mean, Venom is a better movie than this, because at least Venom had a chuckle or two. This movie just makes you feel awkward. So yeah, but I am going to give it a 2 because, like you said, for the simple fact that the potential was there, and you can feel Christopher Reeve trying to do something with the creation of this film, with the message of the film. I mean, and even Christopher Reeve's performance. Again, there are moments when he's okay, and there are moments when he seriously. Stop! Don't do it! The people!
The furious hands of the people!
Yeah, the hand bleeding! Don't do it! The people! Like, I mean, seriously, again, he referencing Superman 2, a great moment where he's crying out, and the delivery was great. Here, I don't know what he's thinking with this one. But again, he's got no director helping him. No one is helping him, and nobody is giving him anything material-wise. Stop! Don't do it! The people. I mean, so like top to bottom, there's nothing in this movie to really, say this is worth your time. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it as a 2. I mean, honestly, I kind of feel like even as much as we've talked about this film, there's so many things we could have ripped on,
Yeah. Speaking of, hey Joe, who asked you?
Am I going first?
I'm letting you go first this time.
Again, there is an endless parade of perfectly acceptable choices for this one. Yeah, the scrawny guy in the health club who's picking on Clark Kent. Like, what? I'm going to narrow it down to 2. There's one that I think is just the moment where I just kind of go, oh boy. But there's another thing I want to sort of shine a spotlight on. Well, first of all, I could have easily just nominated the Cannon Group as being the villains of this film and just destroying what was a wonderful franchise. That is, again, the obvious easy target. They destroyed the film by they slashed the budget for Masters of the Universe, no less. So yeah, thank you for ruining a wonderful possible film. The other, just kind of it's like I almost feel like I have one for every kind of Who Asked You. As far as just the most cringy moment I can remember in this film, and there are tons, but when they're trying to do the "Can you read my mind" scene again, when Lois and Superman are flying around, when he drops her, right? When he drops her, and it's supposed to be like. I mean, again, now, remember Superman 1? When, as soon as they broke connection, she plummets down. Down to her screaming death, potentially. Well, here...
Because gravity.
Yeah, here they're trying to do something different, and I guess they're trying to imply that she's got enough momentum to just carry her forward for a while before he has to grab her again. But when he drops her, which already feels weird, because Superman shouldn't intentionally drop Lois Lane, but he drops her and she just flops around like a fish. Like, the look on her face is more just like the goofiest, weirdest look, and she's flailing and flopping around like a fish out of water. That to me was like, guys, just stop whatever you're doing here. But the one thing I really want to sort of focus on is the decision to film. I guess they filmed in England, and
yes,
again, in what is supposed to pass for New York, and they can't even find a stretch of town with tall buildings to film in.
Right,
all of Metropolis is this kind of weird couple of blocks. Some of it is backlot, and some of it they just filmed like I think even the walk to what is supposed to be the United Nations was filmed like on what looks like a college campus or something. I don't even know what this was supposed to be, but like the part where he stop, don't do it, the people, when they're having the fight in front of what's supposed to be the Daily Planet, and none of the buildings are more than like 2 or 3 stories tall. Yeah. Like, you couldn't even have made the effort to define an area with buildings that's supposed to kind of... I mean, we saw Rumble in the Bronx years ago, and we laughed. We laughed because you saw the snow-capped mountains of the Bronx in the background, right? Because they decided to film in Canada. Like, and after a while, they just stopped caring. But at least in the beginning, they were filming in areas that could have passed for a cityscape at least. Here, they're not even trying. And if I see that stupid sign that the yellow lettering that says the Daily Planet on the green background, which they must have ran around between every scene and put it on a new building every time. Like the part when they're walking to the UN, they still slap that stupid sign on one of the nearby buildings that look nothing like the other buildings that are supposedly the Daily Planet. I mean, that honestly, I feel like that now looking at it again, just so weird and jarring and glaring that you couldn't even film it in an area that was remotely city-ish. Like I wouldn't even call this urban. This is like down the street, and it could have been in Alabama, for crying out loud, that they filmed this.
Yeah, that was pretty damn cheap. I'll grant you that. I mean, I've gone over just about everything that just drove me nuts. The roofie Superman really annoyed the hell out of me. But I'm gonna stick technical this week, and I'm gonna just say the editing. I don't know who the hell edited this.
Totally agree.
I feel like they got Matt Murdock to come along and edit this movie, because none of it made sense. None of it flowed. It flowed a little bit in the beginning, and then just and again, I'm going to say it again, I really think it was from the moment that Mariel Hemingway kind of splayed herself on her desk. From that point forward, the editing just went to chaos. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. The editing in this movie is the worst, the absolute positive worst editing I've ever seen in my life.
Agreed.
I can't think of another movie with worse editing off the top of my head. Nothing else comes to mind.
I completely agree. I feel like they it almost feels like they didn't even hire a professional editor. Like, I don't know who had the task of editing this movie, but
I should check the credits, but I wouldn't doubt if the guy wound up doing an Alan Smythe, because you know that whoever was editing was just pushing the buttons, that it was Golan and Globus behind him saying, cut this, add that, put that there.
Very true, very true. And incidentally, by the way, my feeling about the score is very similar. I felt like the score from the get-go, and again, first of all, the opening credits are awful. Like, again, you people could not have even gotten like a decent stock photo to use for your still shot for the Earth, or what. I mean, it just looks so tacky. But I remember thinking from the get-go, the score, and I know the score, it was, again, based, I think John Williams did some work on it. Like, he got a credit.
No, he got a credit. Yeah, he got a credit because that's kind of part of his financial deal. The music was actually done by Alexander Courage.
Yeah, but I could have sworn I heard that John Williams actually did. He didn't compose, like, he didn't actually physically compose the orchestra, but I thought he actually wrote the music for, like, some of the themes in it. Like Lenny's theme was one, and I think maybe Marilyn Hemingway got a theme, whatever. But then Alexander Courage went and did the rest of it. And honestly, and again, I know he's done some good work, but it just sounded to me like it was done by like a high school marching band that did the score for this. And not only that, but I just felt like there were moments when the score just didn't even go with the scenes. Now, again, I don't know if that's the fault of the score or if it's the fault of the choppy editing where the music just didn't line up with the correct scene or whatever. But a lot of it just didn't really work for me, and I felt like a lot of it was oddly out of place.
Yeah, I could feel that. He, you know, he was the composer. He created the Star Trek song.
Yeah,
there you go. That's probably his biggest claim to fame, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing his name nerding out watching Star Trek. But anyway, yeah. Well, aren't we supposed to find something good at this point? Go ahead.
Yeah, for your consideration. I can go first if you like.
I have a hunch we're going to be pretty similar on this, but take it.
No, I doubt it. I doubt it because mine is very minor. I did like the opening Russian satellite scene, but you know what really did it for me? What I was like, that I liked the fight on the moon. Now hear me out. I can almost see you looking at me sideways, right? I can see you looking at me sideways right now.
I'm listening.
I like the fight on the moon. Okay, here's why I like the fight on the moon. I liked the fact that they got the consistency of the moon correctly. I liked, that it kind of Okay, I'll be honest with you. I liked that when Superman freed himself, he came up, brushed his hair off, grabbed the American flag, and immediately planted it back in, took a look at it before he went off. That was it. That was really what it was.
I'll give you that.
I did really like the look of the moon set. I felt it was authentic, and I liked that. But I really did get a big ass charge when he put the flag back up.
I hear what you're saying, and I am with you on that one. I did have to laugh though, because like in the next scene, he flies off, and then suddenly the scale of the moon shrinks by I don't know how much, where he can actually grab the moon and push it.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm with you. And again, mine is nothing spectacular. It's probably going to be very generic. There's nothing really in this film that I can really say. I just want to give it to the noble gesture by Christopher Reeve to try to do something that I think he felt very passionate about. And again, I really do say that story-wise, this film works. I don't, like I said, the bare bones, the skeleton of it is fine. The backstory with the paper getting bought out, again, could have been worked in better, could have been fleshed out better. Lacey Warfield is I find her to be a pretty reasonable character. I understand the arc that they were trying to go for with her, executed pretty poorly. But just the idea, the concept, would Superman get involved with political affairs and war and the possibility of nuclear. I find that to be very worth exploring. So that's it's tepid and murky what I'm getting at, but yeah, it's that the spirit was there, and I really wish that they could have explored this better. But yeah, oh my God, it's just executed so badly, and seriously, it's just baffling. You know, I remember even watching the first scenes when he's the subway scene in the beginning, saying like how does anybody see that and see a New York subway there? Like, it's so obviously it's not. This is obviously another country. Something as simple as that they couldn't get right. And again, what does he actually do? He flies, he steps on it, because we can't afford to. And even some of the camera work there, like, it's almost like, I guess they couldn't film certain things, so they were just shooting the top of his head at some points. And I mean, oh boy, is it baffling. So it's ugh. So I don't know. Like I said, I feel like we could just rip every individual scene, to shreds if we wanted to. But yeah, oh boy, it is what it is. Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. My heart goes out to you.
Christopher Reeve definitely deserved a better send-off than this.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is right. This is one of those cases where a great franchise dies a slow, painful, withering death, and this is. I mean, I almost feel like this franchise it almost goes down perfectly. Like, there's a step down from 1 to 2, then a significant step down to 3, and then a big old step down. I mean, you can almost watch the downward spiral, pretty clearly.
But next week we try something different, something new. We're taking a break from the terrible end of the Superman movies and go to the movies to see The Girl in the Spider's Web.
That'll be a nice change of pace, and before we have to come down and really hammer some nails in some coffins for the Superman franchise. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that one, just as a.
Well, Joe, Superman Returns obviously can't be that bad. You have declared Superman 4: The Quest for Peace is the worst movie we've ever reviewed.
Up until now.
I see what you did there. I say,
although I'm not making any predictions.
It has been some years since I've seen it, so I'm going to keep an open mind like I have kept an open mind with all these reviews. So we'll see. But until then, sir, you enjoy Alabama, and I got to get to work.
All right, sir. Well, thank you once again, and thank you for making me watch Superman 4 again.
That was you.
That's true. I will own up. And we did. And it was funny. We came into this franchise so optimistic and so happy and so whatever.
Yeah. We've been having way too many roller coasters lately between Batman, Indiana Jones, now Superman. Can we get off the rats? Can we get off this crap? Can we get back to good stuff?
Yeah. Okay.
Until next week, sir. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode. And be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube and VidMe for spoiler-free reviews of new releases, as well as in-depth discussions of current and classic cinema. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You can find our page at patreon.com. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are used for commentary and critique, and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.
Oh boy, I usually only get this excited when they say the title of a movie in the movie.
I'm telling you, these drug dealers represent a clear and present danger to the United States.
He said it!
All I'm saying is, what if this is as good as it gets?
There it is!
The only way for me to solve this crisis is to be Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Oh, that's why they call it that.